All right. So one of the things that came up, I saw that Russia, I believe. Let me see if I can find a video on it. But I believe that Russia bans transgenders from adopting. Now, I don't know. Like, I didn't actually see the law, but let's. I believe that they also changed. They cracked down on medically changing your gender. Let's take a look at this video, and maybe we can get a little bit more information on it, because I wanted to respond, give a little bit of my take on it, see how I was seeing it, get a little bit of y'all take on it, and go from there. But let's take a listen.
Officially or medically changing their gender.
Right. This
Now, in a blow to Russian LGBTQ plus community, the Russian President Vladimir Putin has signed legislation that bans people from officially or medically changing their gender.
Right. This act has been passed unanimously by both houses of the parliament. It bans any medical interventions aimed at changing the sex of a person and bans changing a person's gender in official documents or public records. It also annuls marriage in which one person has changed gender and bars transgender people from becoming foster or adoptive parents. Russian lawmakers say the act seeks to protect Russia against, I'm quoting here, Western anti-family ideology.
Now, some have even described gender transitioning as pure Satanism. President Putin has been pushing for such laws for over a decade, which he says aim to protect traditional values. Now, in year 2013, the Kremlin adopted legislation that banned any public endorsement of non-traditional sexual relations among minors. In 2020, Putin pushed through constitutional reform that outlawed same-sex marriage. Last year, he signed a law banning quote-unquote propaganda of non-traditional sexual relations among adults. LGBTQ plus activists have warned that the latest law will lead to a further increase in already high rates of suicide and suicide attempts among transgender people. They also say it will encourage an underground market for surgeries and medications.
Heavy topic, heavy topic. And it's one of those things that I've questioned. And being honest, I got to be honest, always going to be straightforward with y'all. The other day in the airport, I saw a transgender couple, I'm not even sure who was who and what was what. Just didn't see them that closely, or sometimes you don't know. And I just was thinking, as far as like, yo, that's kind of like, as a kid, to be growing up with two transgender parents, that's gotta impact them, right? And let's say that the kid, because the child, because just based on what they said here, that Russia banned transgenders from adopting, kids. I got to tell you, like, I'm torn. I'm torn because I know that would affect a kid in a particular way, because we always talk about upbringing. We always talk about upbringing, and it's going to impact that kid. It's going to confuse that kid. And if it doesn't, I don't know how it wouldn't confuse the kid, but if it doesn't confuse the kid, at the very least, it's going to have a significant impact on how that child sees the world as they grow older. And I don't know if the right question is whether or not it's fair, but I think that we can, or I'm acknowledging that it's a little, I don't know if weird's the right word, but I think that would be a little bit confusing for the child. And why I said I was torn is because it's hard to say that just because somebody has a particular orientation, sexual orientation. Now, this transgenderism isn't just about sexual orientation. It's obviously about feeling that you're born in a different body, or feeling that you are a different gender than what would be traditionally assigned to you, or what was assigned to you at birth, just based on your genitals, based on your sexual organs. It's Y'all are seeing it in real time as far as me processing this. And similar to, the last video, it's a lot of times when you start having these conversations, you're not trying to offend anybody. You're not trying to hurt anybody. You're not trying to sit here and say, hey, I don't think that these type of people, I think they're monsters. I don't think that they should ever be able to be around kids. It's tough for me to say that. It's tough for me to say that. Do I think that in a lot of ways it is unfair to the child? You know, a child that, was obviously born from a biological, children are born from biological men and women. It just is what it is. And to now be brought up in a life where, let's say, the guy that the parent that looks like a guy but has breast is breastfeeding you, and then the woman who may look like a guy, or the guy who look, y'all can see, obviously it gets a little confusing even to explain, but you're seeing parents maybe play different roles than are traditionally played, or presenting themselves. You're not expecting to breastfeed somebody that looks like a man. So it can confuse the child. So let's be clear. I think Russia, they are very much solidifying their stance on just traditional values. I think because things have gotten so crazy in Western culture, American culture, that they are making sure that just never comes their way. They're trying to nip it in the bud before it even becomes as big of an issue that it is in America. And what I realized, and this was what I was trying to make the competition, I wasn't trying to sit here and say, whether or not it's wrong. But what I was realizing that is, everything's a competition. And when everything is a competition, it makes sense. It makes more sense as far as why we have to have these arguments, or why we end up having these arguments, and everyone feels compelled to defend their particular way of life. And when you're going about defending your particular way of life, what's one of the biggest things that allows you to prove your point? Strength in numbers. The overwhelming, if you can get more and more people to agree with your point, to stand on your side of the fence, it's going to make you feel better, more confident, and stronger, just as far as the competition aspect of proving that my way of life is the right way of life, and I want to spread my way of life. The only way for me to grow my numbers and for more people to see things the way I see them and be on my side in this fight, competition, whatever you want to call it, war, whatever you want to call it, is for me to spread my particular viewpoint, my particular lifestyle, my particular agenda. And we see this clearly happening with the LGBTQ community. And that's why, they've put out, obviously not, when I say they, I'm not talking about the entire community, but there was a popular video where, they were saying, we're coming for your kids. Of course they're coming for your kids. How else are they supposed to grow? When you look at kids largely, we don't change. I was having a conversation earlier. Most people don't change. So those childhood years, those developmental years, that's what pretty much is going to determine how you see the world for the rest of your life. That's what's going to determine your principles, your values, your morals, all these things that allow you to see the world from your particular perspective and establish your moral compass of what's right, what's wrong, what's good versus evil, all these different things. So when you look at all these factors, it makes sense why people in general just feel the need to push their particular agenda and way of life to the masses. So obviously, trying to get certain kids to believe in a certain lifestyle, that's who's going to be targeted. That's why you educate kids. You educate them at a young age because you want to feed them information and you want to build them. So therefore, when they can become adults, men and women, they have a good head on their shoulders that allows them to now go out in life and compete. There's a reason why, as we get older, it's not encouraged as much to go to school. You know, you don't see 30-year-olds, 40, 50-year-olds. You see some of them, but everybody goes to elementary school, everybody, right? Like that's just the thing that you do. So where does it go from there? I don't know. I don't know. Just definitely wanted to share that video with y'all because I think it's a significant thing. And I think I don't know whether this is going to end up being where, you know, certain countries just run certain things their way. I believe it was Uganda that is, you know, pushing back against, you know, a lot of the LGBTQ agenda as well. Will it be something where, you know, some nations, some states, they just have certain laws, certain way of lifestyle, certain ways of lifestyles or lifestyles that are acceptable, and that'll be the norm there, and it'll be a norm, maybe this other norm, maybe the extreme opposite, but that'll be the norm in this other area, and then you just pick and choose where you live. I don't know. I don't know. And it'll be interesting to see how these situations play out in a country like Russia with a leader like Putin, because we've seen how it plays out in America, which is obviously a totally different type of culture than Russia. Russia has held on stronger to a lot of the traditional conservative values, where America has been a lot more progressive. A lot of the things in America that we're doing that's just acceptable, you go to other countries like a Russia, and it's literally would be regarded as insanity. Just crazy. So, like I said, I'm torn from like the human in me is torn to say that, oh, any human doesn't deserve a child. However, I got to be real. I've made it very clear that, you know, certain parents, if you're not responsible enough, if you're not a leader, if you don't deserve to have a child. So do I need to pressure myself to have a solid stance when it comes to this? Because I had a solid stance when it came to other areas, and me determining whether or not I believe that certain people, you know, should have children. I'm talking about as far as I don't think anybody should just be having kids, or anybody just deserves to have kids. I think that you have to reach a certain level of responsibility to where you can properly bring a child into a life, into an environment that allows them to be successful, that allows them to flourish, loving, caring, nurturing, where they're getting all of this leadership, discipline, all these different factors. I believe that we need to have a certain standard of who should be able to have children and when they should be able to have children based on us reaching those standards. Now, my standards never involved, you know, oh, well, are they transgender? It was never, you know, a factor in that conversation or my thought process. So I would have to think a little bit more on it. I get it from probably from a religious standpoint. You know, most religions would, you know, it's a hard no. But I guess, but it depends, because, you know, a lot of these religions, they're moving the goalposts. In Christianity, especially, a lot of these churches, they're moving the goalposts, accepting a lot of things that would be traditionally just hard no's. So I don't know, and I get it. Like, we gotta also have a human component to just kind of sit here and say, like, yo, I get it. Like, it's hard for us to determine and say, no, you don't deserve to have a child. So at least it's hard for me. I'm just being transparent with y'all. I hope it doesn't come across as me, you know, playing both sides. I'm just kicking it to you honest. Like, I don't have a direct answer for that. I don't, you know, I'll be totally honest, even when I see certain couples to where it may be a gay couple or a lesbian couple, I always sit back and wonder, I'm like, yo, I wonder how that's affecting the child. And I just wonder about it. I just wonder about it. So those are my thoughts on that. Um, Let me know your thoughts, and then we can kind of have a more we can build on this discussion. But I just definitely wanted to share that with y'all. I thought it was interesting to see, you know, how a lot of the countries, you know, are going to extreme opposites in many ways. Just like in America, you know, you see the parties going to extreme opposites, and it seems that the more extreme one side gets, the more extreme the other gets. The more extreme this country is this way, the more extreme that country is that way. And it's just a competition thing. And it goes back to that competition where everybody's in competition to influence the masses to adopt their lifestyle because they believe their lifestyle is the one to live. So there you have it. Would love to hear y'all insight on that. And that may be the last topic that we're going to discuss. I just wanted to really jump on, talk about those things, and get y'all opinions. So with that, I'm gonna wrap it up. Maybe back on tonight. Not sure how I'm gonna chop this video up. May just chop it up, in 2 parts and just put it out that way. But either way, y'all will get the content. So with that, y'all know what it is. Strength and honor, onward and upward. We elevate on purpose. That's both from an intentional standpoint as well as doing what we are here to do, living in our purpose from that standpoint, giving the world what we are meant to give the world. And as Kiki pointed out yesterday, as I was rushing so much to end the show so I can, get my parents out of here into the airport and say bye to them and embrace them before they leave, I forgot to hit y'all with the go-to, which is get to the bag, the big bag, with the big integrity, of course. All right. So let's make sure that we're always putting ourselves in a position to win in every aspect of life and that we continue to elevate on purpose. So with that, I'll see y'all soon. Ew.